They just want to play.
Welcome to my FNAF spoiler review. Now, if you guys hear a lot of background noise, I have my fan going on because this room can get really hot when I'm doing these reviews, especially with this light beaming on me like this. So this video is not going to be heavily edited. It's just going to be simple, straight to the point. I might do some minor edits here and there, but for the most part, it's just going to be me doing a spoiler talk for this movie. All the clips are going to match up with what I'm talking about, so if you guys don't mind that, this makes my job a lot easier. So let's go ahead and talk about this movie because there's actually quite a bit to discuss, and yeah, this is going to be a long video. I may end up premiering this or do it on live or whatever, but either way, you guys will be seeing a bit of a longer video. Okay, so let me go ahead and talk about some of the stuff that I think didn't work for me in this movie while I was watching it. Number one, when the movie slows down, when we finally get Abby introduced to the animatronics, I think that's where the movie, I really think, didn't work for me, because they tried to make the animatronics all cutesy and all friendly towards Abby, which by a certain point in the movie, it's proven to be a ploy where they actually want to turn Abby into one of the animatronics, but we already knew that going into the movie since they revealed that in the trailers. But also, it just felt kind of weird because they're trying to be creepy and scary with these animatronics, but then you see them doing adorable stuff like building forts and stuff in like the Freddy Fazbear Pizzeria. And for me personally, it just really took away a lot of the scare factor, especially going near the end. They were no longer scary to me anymore. So I just think that they could have done a better job with that personally. But all in all, there were some creepy elements at the first half of the movie. There were a couple of jump scares that did kind of get me. There was one with Balloon Boy that they did where Mike Schmidt opens up the locker when he first gets started at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, and that actually got me. I'm not gonna lie to you. That actually made me out loud go, Jesus. Because it was just so unexpected and it was loud and out of nowhere, which feels very on brand and on model for Five Nights at Freddy's, right? So actually, I do also really like the motivation that they had for Mike. You know, he's a security guard. I love how they played into the backstory that he's trying to dream up the situation and try to identify who took his brother. And he's trying to have this dream over and over again, and he's trying to reimagine what happened so he can catch the person's face to try and fix his past. But the motivation for him getting fired from his first security gig is because he's sensitive about stuff happening with children, and he sees a parent who is disciplining his child, and he assumes that it's actually not the kid's dad, and he thinks that he's been kidnapped, and it was a really good motivation for why he gets fired. And it's also a really good motivation for why he takes up the job at Freddy's, because he's desperate. He doesn't have a lot of options, and when Matthew Lillard's character of William Afton hears his last name Schmidt, I kind of noticed he was acting kind of funny around that, and when I saw him acting kind of funny and he offers him up the job, I kind of thought to myself, there's some connection here that they're going to bring up. And sure enough, William Afton is the one who kills Mike's younger brother. That all ties into each other, and it all made sense by that point. I mean, I was kind of looking, I'm like, okay, I see why he was acting all weird when he mentioned the name Schmidt. That's why he was like really like, okay, now I can have you take up this job and stuff like that. Oh, now I just all of a sudden have this position open. I thought that was actually pretty interesting how they did that. So like I said, the first half was really good, and some of the payoffs also felt really good. Like I said, it's just that other portion when they start introducing the stuff with Abby, with the animatronics, stuff like that, just did not work for me. And especially when Mike had to do the whole rescue of getting Abby and stuff like that, that also really didn't work for me. They also kind of sprung over the spring locks a bit more, and they did it just like a quick mention, like, oh yeah, these are spring locks, you gotta be careful with these. They didn't really touch on that too much, so a lot of people who aren't fans of the series really aren't going to know a lot of key details. It's like they talk about multiple things in this movie, but they don't ever like fully dive into them, so it's going to leave a lot of people mad confused about why certain things happen. Like why are the animatronics haunted by these kids? I mean, like, they kind of talk about it near the end of the movie, but again, it's just a lot of things are kind of glanced over, so you really have to be already initiated to already know what's going on with the story. But I will admit, there's a lot of really good fan service in there. Corey Kenshin's cameo was gold. I love seeing him do his classic screams that he does in his videos in this movie, which I will say, for him doing his first actor debut in this movie, I guess you can say, did a solid job. I mean, he wasn't anything outstanding, but good job to you, Corey. Really good job to you, man. Like, I'm really proud of you getting into a movie. And something that I didn't expect was Matt Pat. I should have expected that, considering that Matt Pat and Scott have history, and they've talked and they've had communication, so I guess I should have guessed that you had been in this movie. But I didn't expect that cameo. But it really was on the nose when he said that's just a theory and stuff. That I felt like that was really on the nose, but it was still a good cameo nonetheless. Other unnecessary subplot that I saw in the movie that really had an issue with was the whole thing with like Mike having custody of the Abbey, and then the auntie wants her to get the money. And it was just like, that was a very unnecessary subplot. The only reason why they had that was so that way she can try and frame Mike to be a bad security guard, where she wanted to put people in Freddy's, send them over to Freddy's, and basically have them trash the place. And the only reason why they did that was to basically have cheap kills. But they could have had these teenagers break into Freddy's nonetheless and still had the same kills without having that dumb subplot. You see what I'm saying? There's just things thrown in there that I really don't think were necessary, and it just made the film a little bit more convoluted and messy than the film needed to be. But I will admit that ending, I feel like, was more of what I wanted. Like, seeing William Afton being in that Golden Rabbit suit, Springlock suit, the original Spring Bonnie suit, which, if you guys don't know the prior history, they kind of glanced over that, where they were like, oh yeah, these are Springlocks and stuff like that. With these Springlock suits, they're supposed to be very sensitive. You got to be very careful with them, because if they go off, you can die when you're inside those, or die very slowly, because when they go off, you start getting crushed. It starts impaling your body. And so seeing him run around in that suit was really, really cool in the final act, where he basically had super strength in the suit, because the suit enhances his strength. He had kind of like an echoey voice. Matthew Lillard was really killing it as William Afton in that final act as well. Like, and I just wish we got more stuff like that in this movie. I really do, because that was so, so good. And when he took off the mask and had the reveal, dun dun dun, for people who don't know, but for us, I already knew who it was. But that was just really good stuff. And him trash talking the animatronics, trash talking the main characters, and I didn't expect him to stab Vanessa like that. Clearly she's going to become Vinny in the future, because I mean, she has the blonde hair and everything. She's the officer. They're hyping it up for her to be Vinny in the next movie. And plus we had that Vinny, doll on the behind the scenes photos. I mean, they're hinting towards her being Vinny in the future. But anyways, just all that stuff was so good with Matthew Lillard, and it really makes me wish that we got more stuff like that in the movie. I really loved the animatronics from Jim Henson. It was really, really good stuff. The practical effects were really good. This wasn't a Willy's Wonderland. This wasn't Banana Splits in terms of the effects. They looked like they were like legit robots, animatronics. And that's something I thought that they did a really good job of portraying. Also, they didn't have the red eyes in there as much as I thought they would. So no need to be concerned about that. I mean, again, I was thinking to myself, oh man, they probably got more red eyes in here than I thought. They only had them at the end. And really it was for a couple of shots, and that's it. It's either they had a different cut where they had red eyes a lot, or maybe they just had them just for the final shots. I don't know, but they utilized them very well for the scene that they were in. Trying to think what else I want to talk about. Yeah, just some of the ways they did the spring locks. So when the spring locks do go off with Matthew Lillard, it was a lot slower than I thought it would be. And it worked very well, because it looked brutal. Especially for PG-13, for what they were able to do with PG-13 for that scene, it felt brutal, especially with the sound design, and they did have a shot of one of it going into his ribs or something like that. It was a brutal scene, and the iconic line of him saying, "I always come back," and putting on the mask, man, it's because in the mini games, they make it seem like it's quick and simple. But in this, it's like, oh no, he's suffering the entire time. He's shaking. He can barely move. The animatronics drag him away as he's having the spring locks going off. It's just, it's brutal, but I loved it. And like I said, there's just more stuff of that I wanted. And hopefully with the sequel, they do more stuff like that. There's other cool effects in there too. Like, I love the little William Afton trap that they had with the Saw Freddy head. Created really big suspense there. First guard, I already knew he was not getting out of that. That's some Saw stuff right there. I love the little Easter eggs that they had with the sounds of the place. Like, they had Five Nights at Freddy's 2 sounds going off. They had some FNAF 1 sounds going off, the power, the electricity. Some of the songs that they play in the background, if you listen very carefully for the trained ear, you can hear some classic tunes from some of those games. It's just like, this is like fan service the movie. Like, you look in some parts of the office, you have the Celebrate poster in the office, you have the security cams, he presses certain buttons and then they flip just like in the games. It's just, this was definitely meant for the fans. And if you're not a fan of this game or the games or the lore, you're really not going to care for this movie a lot. But as a fan, I actually found myself really enjoying this, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of the fandom is enjoying this, because from what I saw on Rotten Tomatoes, I think they said that it was like 89% on the audience score compared to the critic being 27%, and that's just about what I expected. I mean, I didn't expect the critics to like this movie, and I expected the fans to love it. I mean, even if it was a bad movie, I'm pretty sure fans would still love this movie regardless. But yeah, it was really well done how they threw in some of the fan service together. And with Scott Cawthon taking over the writing for this movie and handling the lore and all that, you can definitely tell it's him, because some things weren't as clear as I thought they would be, and that's just Five Nights at Freddy's altogether. Like, we're still deciphering so many things to this day, and that's how I felt watching this movie too. So it makes me interested in the many possibilities and directions that they can go in the next movies, because now I'm thinking to myself, where do we go from here? This movie is clearly the point where it takes place in part of FNAF 1 and in between those mini games in FNAF 3, where you have the spring locks, you have the ghost children surrounding William Afton in that scene as the animatronics. And the spring lights go off, he becomes Springtrap. In the next movie, he's officially going to be Springtrap. In this movie, he was just wearing the suit. He's going to officially be Springtrap in the next movie. So it makes me wonder, what directions are they going to go in? Are they going to do a prequel? Are they just going to continue with this movie series and just have him be Springtrap? Are they going to go with Vanny in the next movie? Like, I don't know. Is there even going to be a next movie? Because we still got to see the performance of this one. I know they signed contracts to do other movies going forward, but with the performance of this movie, that might indicate whether or not they are going to or are not going to continue with this movie franchise. But knowing that it's Five Nights at Freddy's and it probably is going to make its money back and then some, because this movie is actually made for a smaller budget, they're most likely going to continue. And also, I really hope in the next movies that they have some definite improvements and they really go for it with some of the scares, because I would really like to see the next movies actually go for more scares. Not cheap jump scares, but actually make them like scary. Because like I said, the only parts I really thought were a little bit creepy were just the beginning parts of the movie. Like, the first half had some creepy atmosphere, had some creepy things happen in there, some unexpected gory kills. That was more stuff that I wanted even from the second half, but it didn't go in that direction. I mean, the second half was fun still, but it just was not as good as the first half. So we'll see what they do in the future, but other than that, I really have no idea what the directions they're going to go in. I mean, I have some ideas, like I said, with the whole Springtrap thing, but other than that, nothing that I can really think of, because they did cover quite a bit in this movie as well. I didn't expect them to cover as much as they did. Something else that I found interesting was the way how they handled Mike Schmidt's dreams, where he was remembering everything. That first dream sequence where he basically talks to the kids, they run away. Then the second one, he chases down one of them that's actually a kid that's haunting Foxy, and he slashes his arm. I'm like, wow, that's some Freddy Krueger stuff right there, because he wakes up and he's actually slashed. It's probably from the ghost or the animatronic walked up to him or something. I don't know. But I found that to be very, very interesting. And also, when he turned around and he had the black coming out of his eyes, that did get me. I'm not gonna lie, because stuff that has to do with eyes and nails and stuff, that stuff kind of makes me feel a little bit like a little bit uncomfortable. So that scene actually worked very well. The dream sequences where he's talking to the kids actually did feel a bit eerie. I really loved the way they handled those dream sequences. The stuff with Abby and the animatronics, like I said, I just was not a big fan of that. But I do like how they said they were going to try and make her one of them. It's just that the execution of it just was not done that well. It felt like a typical rescue mission where he goes in, he has these weapons that the officer gives to him, and then he basically uses them to take out the animatronics, to get his sister and stuff. Like it was just stuff like that where I was talking about cliches that just don't really work for me personally. I'm trying to think what else I want to talk about in this, because there's so many things I want to talk about. I guess it's more, like I said, Matthew Lillard. So in the next movie, he's going to be fused with the suit. So it makes me wonder, is he going to be in the suit the entire time? Because I feel like that would be really, really cool. Because there's been so much media that has characters take off their masks so many times, and they did it in this movie, don't get me wrong. But it would be cool to actually see him like merge with the suit and actually have him go all the way, but like a little bit more creepy. Like, have you guys ever seen that cosplay of Springtrap where the guy's walking around and it's like really creepy looking, he glitches all over the place? It's a really cool cosplay. I would love to see that, but with like Matthew Lillard. Like, that would be so awesome. And bring some of that Shaggy energy into there. Oh man, you want to talk about good, awesome stuff with Springtrap. But yeah, there's so many possibilities that they can do with this. Also, like I said, I really love the fact that the kids were actually attacking him in dreams, but then it was manifesting in reality where you see his body actually get shredded up and stuff like that. That was also really, really cool. Let me get a water break. I'm doing a lot of talking. Yeah. I apologize for that. When I'm doing a lot of talking, my mouth gets really dry. I probably have bad breath right now, who knows. But there's also a major surprise that happened in the end credits, and I did not expect them to play the Living Tombstone Five Nights at Freddy's song. But that's really cool that they're bringing in the fandom in this movie. Markiplier's not in this movie. I know a lot of people said that they were disappointed. When I got out of my screening, I had a conversation with people there, and really nice people. Like, I mean, they're diehard Five Nights at Freddy's fans, more diehard than me, you nerds. I'm joking around, you guys. But yeah, no, they were more diehard than me, and they were even disappointed that Mark wasn't in the movie. And they were like, he's making that stupid movie. No, but I really am excited to see what Mark is doing with his movie. And I understand why he wasn't in this movie. Because he's busy. He's doing his own directorial debut. And I'm excited to see what he does there. But I guess I was just a little bit disappointed because I was like, I thought he was doing like an Andrew Garfield thing where he was saying, oh no, I'm not in the movie. You know, there's no proof I'm in the movie, blah, blah, blah. And he was going to show up later. That's what I thought they were going to do, but they didn't do that. But I'm still okay with it because we still got Corey Kenshin, we still got Matt Pat, and plus we also got the Living Tombstone song in the movie as well. So many good Easter eggs. I mean, it just made up for it, in my opinion. Maybe Mark might be in the next movie. You never know. I mean, anything's possible at this point. And by that point, maybe he won't be making like his own movie or something, or maybe he will. I mean, that's his decision. But also, I will say that, again, I can't stop thinking about that Springtrap scene. It was really well done. I'm not gonna lie to you. I really like that Springtrap scene with Matthew Lillard. It's just like I said, I just wish we got more of that in this movie. Seeing Springtrap running around with a knife like a horror movie villain, he has like super strength. He messed up Mike really badly. Like, he beat him up so bad. I did not expect Mike to get beat up by Springtrap. Like, his super strength in that suit, like, he's basically like a bunny rabbit Terminator in that scene. And I really love that. And I also love the reason why they showed the ghosts turning on him was because they had Abby draw the picture of the golden rabbit killing the kids, and I thought that was really interesting how they did that. And they turned to him, and exactly what I said happened in my breakdown videos. I literally said that what's probably going to happen is this is going to be Five Nights at Freddy's 3, where they're going to scare him and then they're going to have the spring locks go off, and that's exactly what happened. But I also thought that the spring locks had to be moist, or you had to like move around a huge amount for them to go off like that. But in this version, it was like the cupcake tore a piece off the suit and made them go off, whereas in the original source material, the suit was just laying like in a back room with water raining all over it, making the spring locks already sensitive, so when he gets in the suit, it goes off. So it was like kind of different how they changed up the story, although I will say that maybe in this version it did feel a little bit more gratifying, because we already are hating him because of him trash talking them as well, even when they find out and he's talking about how they're stupid kids and, you know, they're so weak and stuff, and he's taunting Mike about how he killed his brother and now he's going to go after him. So it felt a little bit more gratifying in the scene to see the spring locks going off, and they basically had their comeuppance. And plus, I also think it was funny to have the cupcake be the one who basically did the kill shot, if you kind of think about it. And then they just drag him away, which I also felt was kind of crazy, and they throw him in the back room. He's over here suffering, and they just close the door on him, which is going to lead to Springtrap. It's just, like I said, it's just that stuff was so good, and it's just we didn't get enough of that stuff. The whole, like I said, auntie like side story was so unnecessary. Vanessa, like I said, I liked her enough in the movie, but she didn't really add much to the movie other than saying, you know, oh, William Afton's my father, and there was that bombshell, and you know, and I always think it's stupid in horror movies how characters are withholding information and they're like, just tell me what's going on. Like, you're gonna wait till things get this bad for you to finally tell us what's going on? Like, I always think that's so stupid. Then it's like when her father gets involved, then she wants to truly get involved and start intervening properly. I always think that stuff's so stupid. And again, I don't really think that she was really all that necessary in this movie. I'm not trying to be mean. I know what they're trying to do, where they're trying to set up the Vanessa Vinny character, but it's just, it was really stupid at points. I'm like, just tell him what's going on, because then if you do that, this movie wouldn't have gone the way it would have, and that's the reason why they didn't have her do it. At that point, just get rid of her entirely. I mean, I don't know. It's just that part I wasn't super crazy about myself. That golden Freddy leading Abby back to Freddy's, but also killing the auntie. So I'm like, yeah, you have a dead auntie in Mike's house. How are they going to explain that to the police? It's like they just completely glossed over that in the movie. And everybody's all happy after the incident, and she's in school making friends and stuff like that. I'm like, wait, isn't there still the dead auntie in Mike's house? So I'm like, how does he explain that to the police? And then Vanessa can't cover for him either because she was in a coma after her dad stabbed her. That was still unanswered. So I thought that was a really weird choice as well. I'm like, so what do you do about the dead auntie? And also the unexplained dead friends that he had, people that were also connected to the auntie. How do you explain all that? I mean, they didn't explain it at all. I'm just like, man, like, wow. But going back to that Golden Freddy, I don't think they mentioned the kid who was haunting that Golden Freddy. And I know it was Golden Freddy because it was a yellowish animatronic. It had a blue eye and was missing an ear on the side that Golden Freddy's normally missing. So I'm like, who was Golden Freddy in this movie? And it also kind of disappeared too. So I don't know who it was supposed to be. Was it the kid in the room with her who was talking to her? I don't entirely get that. Yeah, I mean, like, there was just a lot of unanswered questions in the movie, and that's why I'm saying, like, critics, I can see why if they were looking at it from a critical standpoint, they would say this is a terrible movie. But again, like I said, being fans, I mean, it's a different response, right? Also, I will say the way they did the kills, some of them did feel a little bit cheap. I mean, the cupcake one is hilarious. The body in the closet one, I mean, there was more blood than I expected in that, but it felt kind of cheap too because we didn't know how he did it or anything. But the one I think that was the best one in the movie was definitely with Freddy, where the kid lured one of the characters to the Freddy head, which I thought was kind of stupid because I'm like, you're going to have a kid calling from within the suit saying, getting warmer, warmer, and then you just walk up to the suit and practically put your whole head in there if you kind of look at it. I'm like, you get so close to the machine and you're going to probably put your whole head in there and be like, hello? Like, that was so stupid. But regardless of it being stupid, it was a really interesting kill. I mean, they literally had the hand pull her in and the Freddy head chopped her in half. That was the most shocking kill in the whole movie. I'm not gonna lie, my mouth was on the floor for 2 minutes because I'm like, they actually did that. Which I'm like, man, how brutal was the bite of 83 at that point? Did the original Springlocks literally like smash the kid's head like a watermelon? Or how brutal was the bite of 87? I mean, now I'm starting to see why they said frontal lobe removed, like at this point. Like, that was a brutal kill, I'm not even gonna lie. I'm still in disbelief that they actually did that, because Megan didn't even do that. I mean, they showed Megan stretching out the ear and then throwing a piece of it in that movie. But I'm trying to think, they didn't really show somebody get torn in half like that in Megan, but they had the balls to do it in Five Nights at Freddy's, even though they're trying to keep it age appropriate to keep more audiences in. Also, the censoring in this movie felt a little bit weird too, where they had some characters look like they're saying cuss words, but they say completely different words, which makes me wonder, is there in fact an R-rated cut of this movie? Because it makes me wonder, in a couple of months, like Megan, are they going to release like the R-rated cut of this movie? And if that's so, is it going to be extended and they actually explain more stuff? Because if that's true, my rating for this movie might actually go up even more than just decent film rating. But all in all, I mean, this film was still a blast. I mean, I can't really say I hated it or disliked it at all. It's just, like I said, I just had minor issues from my critical brain standpoint. Like, I'm always looking at stuff from a critical eye. I can't help it. That's why I created this channel, is because I do film criticism, because I just think that way 24/7, where I question a lot of stuff unnecessarily at times too. And you know, I mean, but as a fan, again, I think it gave me a huge amount of things that I wanted. It was just that some things I just felt like I didn't get enough of. Like I said, that Matthew Lillard, you had Matthew Lillard in this movie and you barely used him enough. I mean, the scenes that he was in, gold. Like, I mean, just like the suit he's wearing, but great scenes, great moments, but you didn't have enough of them. You had great animatronics, great puppet work, Jim Henson. Didn't get to see enough of that. You had this corny side plot. It was just like things like that were kind of really holding this film back from being a great video game movie. It was just, you know, solid enough, entertaining, a lot of fun. I mean, it's messy, but it's fun. But like I said, I just don't think it was anything super spectacular. But yeah, I mean, like, don't know what we were expecting, right? It was definitely still way better than Willy's Wonderland, even though I personally thought Willy's Wonderland is, you want to talk about stupid fun, that movie is retarded, but it is absolutely a blast. Banana Splits, really, really stupid, really bad too, horrible. Both those movies, Willy Wonderland and Banana Splits, horrible, horrible, horrible movies, but they're still fun. I don't know what we were expecting. I mean, it's still better than those two, but it wasn't like revolutionary. I didn't expect this movie to be revolutionary. I just think that the next two, if we're going to get those, like they said, can definitely do some improvements, and there's some things that we can definitely see them do and kind of improve upon. But all in all, what did you guys think of this movie? I mean, hopefully it doesn't make me sound like I'm being too negative. I actually talked about a lot of stuff I did love in the movie, and I actually very much enjoyed. It's just that I didn't absolutely think it was like wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I just, had a fun time with it. It was messy, but it was fun. But clearly, still the number one horror movie in the last 3-4 years is still Blood and Honey. I mean, come on now, you guys know that was the best horror film. I can't even say that with a straight face. But that is my spoiler review for the Five Nights at Freddy's film. What did you guys think? Which one was your favorite moment in this movie? Feel free to have an open spoiler discussion in the comments section, because again, this is a spoiler review, so people should know better than to click on this video if they haven't seen the movie. But yeah, hopefully you guys like this live premiere thingy. I don't know what else to say, but you guys have a good night or day or whenever you're watching this. I mean, you could be on the toilet watching this right now. I mean, I feel comfortable with having my face in the toilet while you're watching. That did not come out right. Okay, we're going to end this video right here. Make sure you guys like the video, and if you guys like the video, make sure I'm not cutting that out. Make sure you guys subscribe today to join the civilization.